Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of Boston Borough Council's Environment and Performance Committee. My name is Councillor Claire Rylott. I'm the chairman of this committee, and Councillor Lena Savikian is my vice chairman. Welcome back, Lena. Thank you. Before we move into the preliminary items this evening's agenda, I need to run through a few housekeeping details. Would all persons addressing this meeting please do so through the microphone system at all times? This meeting is being recorded. Please ensure that microphones are turned off after speaking. Restroom facilities are available for ladies on this floor and halfway down the main stairwell for gentlemen. In the event of a fire alarm sounding, officers will escort everybody out of the building to the nearest fire safety point in the car park. Please be advised that abuse or intimidation of any kind will not be tolerated. Anyone who is deemed to breach this requirement will be warned and asked to refrain. If the behaviour persists, they will be asked to leave the meeting. Now we will move to part one of the agenda, the preliminaries. Do we have any apologies for absence?
There are none, Chairman. Thank you.
Does any member wish to declare any interest in respect of any items on the agenda? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Minutes. Do I have permission to sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of December 2024? Are there any questions from members of the public received 2 clear working days prior to this meeting?
There are none, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the preliminaries. We will now move to part 2 of the agenda items. We are actually going to push quarter 2 performance back. It's normally towards the end of the agenda, so it will be item 4. So we will start on which was item 2, update on Guildhall action plan. It's on page 47. This will be presented by the portfolio holder, Councillor Sarah Sharp, supported by the Principal Museum Arts and Heritage Officer, Luke Skerritt, and the Community Development Manager, Rachel Rowett.
Thank you, Chair. In February 2024, the Guildhall Action Plan was brought to this committee and subsequently approved by Cabinet. 1 year on, we are asking you to note the progress of the action plan, to comment on any work that has taken place to date, and suggest any additional actions you may feel appropriate. During this first year, 14 actions are on target, 1 is completed, 5 have mitigations to stay on plan, and 1 is no longer required. The most notable achievements are successful recruitment to the vacancy of the Museum Events and Venue Officer role. This has created capacity within the service to deliver new exhibitions, which has resulted in an increase in footfall to the museum. In November, we saw a 61% increase in visitors compared with the previous year. A card machine was installed in July 24, allowing visitors to buy our newly increased range of merchandise and books by card, as well as make card donations to the museum. We have relaunched our social media accounts to publicise the museum on a regular basis, and after submitting an initial expression of interest to the Arts Council Mend Fund programme, we were invited to submit an application and made it to the final round of applications for a potential £175,000 for essential repair work to be undertaken. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful in receiving this. We are now currently working on a bid to the National Lottery Heritage Fund and will continue to look for other grant opportunities as and when they become available. Most importantly, the exhibition programme has been significantly developed. Now there is more resilience within the service. This has seen successful exhibitions such as Pilgrim Woman and the De Gaulle exhibition, which not only attracted the attention of so many local people, but also ITV Calendar News produced and aired a segment on it. They have in turn asked to be kept updated with our future exhibitions. The next exhibition, the 900th anniversary of the Mayfair, is also causing a lot of excitement, has been featured on the front page of the Target and on the BBC News website. We have another event which has to be kept under wraps at the moment, but it's going to be truly amazing, and it takes place later on in May, so keep your diaries free for that. The National Portfolio Organisation Fund from the Arts Council has been hugely beneficial too, enabling procurement of museum stand display cases which will arrive next month and will allow us to exhibit more of the collection and also exhibit items on loan from other museums to complement our exhibition programme, as well as developing our cultural programming and activities. 2 weeks ago, the Guildhall was the venue for the launch of the NPO's Zest Theatre Refresh programme, and hundreds of primary school children visited throughout the day to celebrate the work they had done as part of the programme. We've had successful hire events from Boston Preservation Trust sellout talks and the Society of Lincolnshire History and Archaeology conferences. Officers are working closely with the comms team to work on a new promotional exercise to promote the venue for weddings. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank all the officers who are contributing to all the amazing things that are happening at our Guildhall, and would like to ask the committee to approve the recommendations as set out in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Would anybody else like to come in at this stage, or so I'll open to the floor and questions, please. Councillor Gilbert.
Yeah, just a question about well, I've got a couple of questions actually, but the first question is, how closely do we link in with the local schools? Do they have regular visits to the Guildhall, and do they attend sort of events that are maybe laid on by the Guildhall which relate to, you know, the development of Boston or our local history? And the other question was related to weddings. I wonder how many weddings we actually hold at the Guildhall.
Thank you. As for local schools visiting, yes, I mean, one of the schools I actually teach in, they're going at the end of February. So now the national curriculum has changed and the national curriculum is centred around local knowledge, then yes, they do visit. I'm not sure of how many schools have actually visited in the last year. As for weddings, I believe it was 6 weddings last year.
Chairman, could I just ask the portfolio holder to slow down a bit when she speaks, please, because you've got a very light voice. Would you mind? Thank you.
Councillor Izzard.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Sarah, wonderful report. Very exciting. Just a few queries I've got. So you bought a lot of branded merchandise. That money is up front. How are we going to be able to task how it sells and whether there's any profit margin in it?
Hi, thank you for the question, Councillor. The profit margin that we're applying is roughly in the region of 120%. So the cost price on most items is the equivalent of being just over doubled.
That's fine. I just wanted an audit process to show that what we've purchased in advance, we get enough sales from to make it worthwhile in doing it. But I think it's a brilliant idea. I do agree with the branding. On page 56, SMG3, Sarah, your opinion on how we can move forward and try to improve that yellow kind of comment. What would you foresee in the future you would want to see?
I mean, I'm overly happy with the bookings that we've had so far. We do have limitations with only having one toilet, and the parking nearby, unfortunately, does limit some bookings. But we've had quite a bit of interest, and hopefully as more people come and attend talks there, they think, oh, this is a great venue. And so just really promoting the venue as much as we can.
So would you like to see investment so that we had an additional toilet maybe included into the museum?
It would be very difficult to, it's a grade 1 listed building with a distinct footprint with all of the areas surrounding the amenities of historic importance in communicating the story of the building. So an increase in the amenity space is very difficult to achieve. it is possible with larger events that we could consider having temporary toilets in Beadsman's Lane.
Which answers my next question. So have we made a connection with Boston in Massachusetts to see if they've got any museum that we could possibly share any exhibitions with?
In terms of Boston, Massachusetts, I've had dealings a couple of years ago with the Special Collections Department of Massachusetts State Library, and to enable us to get permission to display facsimile copies of Bradford's journal, and there is a link there. The link to a specific museum doesn't exist, though, in answer to your question, but more are being explored at the moment with particularly Rhode Island in the run-up to 2030, and Rhode Island's complete connectivity with the Boston 400 story.
Right, that's fine. And lastly, on page 63, SMG 11, well, I think we all wish you luck that you do get the grant come through, because I really hope that this can improve the visitor numbers into Boston. And thank you and well done, team.
Thank you, Councillor Izzard. On the back of your question, summary A, sustainability and improving financial resilience. I did ask at the briefing for figures for 22, 23, 23 and 24, because this should be in part the report. I think you've got them for us tonight, haven't you, Luke?
I have, Chair, and may I apologise to the Chair as well. I received conflicting advice post the meeting on the nature of supplying them, and I've not done it as a result. So,
well, you know, I'm sorry. This was, I asked for this at the briefing. Everybody was there, and to me, this is half a report. Nobody's followed it up. I even sent emails after the briefing.
Again, I can only apologise. The final advice I received was to bring as much information with me to the meeting and to update the report with visitor figures and some other figures.
But surely we are looking at the Guildhall as a big picture. It's all right saying we've had 60,000 people through the door. We need to know what profits we are making year on year on. This is a bit deja vu to me, because we were looking at this, Luke, 10 years ago, as you know. So how can we get these figures? How can we recommend this report? We've got half the information.
I can relay the last 2 years' reports finances up to December for comparison in this meeting, if that's of help, Chair. To December in 23-24, we received in weddings and events 1,995. In the same period, 2024, we received 2,782. In retail, for 23-24 to December, we received £901. For retail, 24-25, we received £1,019. Donations in 23-24 to December were £791, and in this year they were £905. Other income, which includes tours and room hire, 23-24 to December was £924. This year it's currently £187, but with circa 1,500 that is required to be invoiced for. The total for 23-24 on income to December was 4,611, and from 24 to 25 this year is 4,893. Donations are up approximately 15% from the previous year, and the total of overall income is roughly 2% higher than it was in the previous year. It is of note that we received the new retail stock in the same month, December, that these figures were generated. And
new leaflets that I haven't got in my collection. New leaflets that I haven't got in my collection. But I do direct visitors to the place who have commented to me that it's not very well promoted. This will almost certainly come up when we're talking about the town centre tomorrow and later than tomorrow, because it's an undoubted asset to the area which deserves more promotion. I'm pleased with the changes that have happened inside the building as well, because things have got better, the displays are better, and the staff are welcoming and so on. So all strength to them. I'm wondering if we get the resources to open for other days than Wednesday to Saturday, whether just one more day or every day of the week would be a good idea. I believe the place is open for Saturdays and Sundays on heritage weekends, because it takes, the Guildhall takes part in heritage promotions around the whole county. And I think that if we were to open it on a Sunday, we would get quite a lot of visitors, because on the whole, there's not a lot to do in Boston town during the daytime on a Sunday, apart from go to church. So could we consider opening for longer hours, preferably for extra days? But on the whole, keep up the good work, and it's good progress. But I would echo your request, Chair, for better financial information. Thank you.
It's to answer your question, I'd be more than happy to open as often as possible. It's to do with the resources available to us, putting in a growth bid if we wanted to pursue that. It has been suggested and costs have been modelled previously, but in terms of the additional costs on opening the building, it's not been seen fit to be able to progress the bid in a growth bid. But there is merit, obviously, in being more open and more accessible and increasing that offer within the town, which I think on a Sunday we'd be able to progress. If we were able to be open on a Sunday alongside a real compelling movement that encourages the rest of the town to take the action that you have noted yourself, with only the church being available, and become a Sunday destination with retail available, I think joining in with that would have great merit, and a growth bid to be able to support the Guildhall opening longer could easily be put together.
Thank you for that. I am sure that the group that's starting to meet tomorrow, talking about the town centre, will probably have something to ask you about and suggest for the future, because the Guildhall is really a major asset which we don't make enough of. So we'll see where we go with that. Thank you.
Councillor Welbury.
Thank you very much. It's very heartening to see the progress that's being made in the Guildhall. My question was about opening hours. Now that you've got extra staff, whether it would be possible, but Luke, have answered the question. My second question was about Fidle House, really. You say that you have issues with toilet facilities and kitchen facilities. Is there no way that you could actually work together with Fidle House? They have both. They also manage to open, longer hours and days during the week and at weekends. Is there no way that you can forge closer links with them, especially for weddings, I'm thinking, where you could actually use their facilities and sort of come together. And also, because you have no outside space, they have a wonderful garden. That's a real attractive selling point for people wanting photographs for weddings and that kind of thing. So it would be great. You're next door. There is a door between you two, you know, that wouldn't take, you don't have to go onto the street and round, that there is a back door. So surely there must be something that can be done to promote both of these assets that are wonderful for the town. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Fidle House is obvious. Well, maybe not obviously. It's undergoing a restoration program at the minute and just closed. But in regards to the wedding offer, that is something that we've worked on throughout the years, and frequently the people who actually hire us for the civil ceremony, not civic, apologies. They do hire Fidle House's garden for the photographs and actually use the door that you're relating to come out of our building and walk through into the gardens of Fidle House, building that relation further and enabling us to be able to do joint booking would be an aspiration, particularly as they'll be exploring a new management model for Fidle House as part of these works. And as you noted, the ability to use the toilets in Fidle House has been utilised in a couple of events we've had to be able to expand the amenity to the people who do use us. The kitchen's been used more frequently than that because we have no preparation area for meals and the rest of the facilities. And whilst we can provide quite easily coffees and teas and bring in catering, the finishing of hot catering, we've utilised Fidle's kitchens on a number of occasions to be able to help with that. But forging a link where the booking and actual strategic looking at events would be something that we should investigate further, as your comment.
Lamarson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know you said, Sarah, that the schools do visit. Is it schools in this area? Is there any chance that you could do it, say, maybe a 50-mile radius or something to advertise? Because you could always link it as a field trip to Pilgrim Fathers, so that for the day they could like come into the Guildhall, then go to Pilgrim Fathers and the Stump and do it as a round trip. Because I don't know if they still do it. When I was at school, we did field trips during the summer, and we went on, like, say it'd be history, we go to a castle or somewhere like that. And is there leaflets being put in the hotels, for example, in Skeg and that, to advertise the Guildhall for tourists? Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, I'm absolutely happy to promote the Guildhall further and wide with schools. I think with schools and with my former, before I came to council, I was a school governor, getting the funding for buses. That's really where it lies with the problem, and getting the parents to have the money for buses for the trips. But it's definitely something we can promote for far and wide. I think the schools that do visit, I tend ones that can walk to there, and they do a morning in the Stump and an afternoon in the Guildhall. As for leaflets in the hotels, I'll pass that over to Luke.
No is the very quick answer to that. We're not leafleting actively in terms of promotion, and promotion's one of the actions that we're moving forward at the moment, particularly closely with the comms team, and that relates to weddings and events as well as that wider school offer as well. I see the effects of leafleting, and people come into our site and value written leaflets. There's equally the online push to be able to encourage through both social media and through enhancement of a website, which with the launch this week of the new MPO website we'll be able to gain some momentum in advertising through that. We still do take out some hard copy advertising in publications to complement that offer, but we are not actively leafleting.
Sorry, just to come back in, Rachel's just reminded me, I did have a Boston leaflet printed last year, and I did mention the Guildhall in there. It did go to the leaflet swap at Woodhall Spa, where different companies come and then exchange the leaflet. So it was mentioned within there. Sorry.
Thank you. There's sort of like places like Westwood Lakes, and then there's that other, the one opened at Boston Golf Club. You get a lot of tourists there, don't you, during the season? Maybe if there was just a few, because when you go into like the hotels or holiday destinations, that you have the rack, don't you? And it's got leaflets in it. You just take one and you have a read, see what's going on. Things like that, I think, are very effective. And I totally understand the online, fantastic. Everybody does everything online apart from the elderly. And you get a lot of elderly visitors at Skegness, and they might just pick up a leaflet and say, "Oh, should we get a train and go to Boston and have a look?" You know what I mean? It's that's my sort of angle with that. But it's a good report, thank you.
Councillor Austin.
Thank you. Well, you can't have failed to notice that I've got my husband in tow, and obviously he is particularly interested in heritage, and I think probably preceded Sarah in with that portfolio some years ago now. But the first question, I think, and I've sounded Sarah out just now, is relates to Boston 300, which is the 300th anniversary of the founding of Boston, Massachusetts. My first question was, will that be coming to this scrutiny panel or committee, or would that be going to environment and performance? I mean, this is environment and performance, sorry. Would it be going to community, that one? Because of course it is about community, but it's also about the Guildhall very much, isn't it? So really everything else I'm going to ask probably will depend upon the answer that Sarah can give me to that, or maybe Luke, I don't know.
Thank you. Yeah, the Boston 400 is an absolutely exciting project. It's okay. So we've currently got a 6-month consultation period in at the moment. Urban Foresight started that back in November, I believe, and they've been talking with different stakeholders throughout the town, businesses, schools, Luke, myself, Rachel, and then on Thursday morning last week they held a meeting at the White Hart, which some councillors attended as well. Once that 6-month period is over and they've got all of their information together, absolutely, then we've got that package and it will come. I'm not sure which committee it will come to, but I'll keep you updated.
Thank you, Sarah. Sorry about getting the 400 and the 300 mixed up. It seems to have been going on a long time now. Right, so that's probably the first thing. It's a matter of interest if it's correct. I believe that Fidel House is making it is undergoing what should I say, work to make it disabled friendly, to make it accessible, isn't it? That's why it's not currently open. But I am a member of the Preservation Trust. But I really, if he's allowed to, I think my husband, can Councillor Austin, Richard Austin, please, perhaps ask the questions that he can ask far better than I can. Would that be permitted?
Thank you, Councillor Austin. I'll ask the members of the audience at the end if they have any questions to ask. Thank you. Moving on, Councillor Evans, I think you had something to say.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Following on from Councillor Pryke's comments about the building not promoting itself, the signs are not all that in your face. Now, a building like this does not want gaudy signs. I fully accept that. No flashing neon or anything like that. But maybe a look at the current signage, and maybe when you have got an event, what about a canvas thing that goes across the road from rooftop to rooftop, if that could be arranged? No one's going to miss that when they drive under it. Just a thought.
Thank you very much. Absolutely, the signage is something that we're going to put within the National Lottery Heritage Fund bid. It's about if somebody sees like the sign that's next to the Assembly Room says Guildhall, would a tourist actually know what the Guildhall meant? Would it be the museum? So that's part of our bid. But I do like the idea of the sign across the top there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gilbert.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I mean, I always think that maintaining and running heritage assets is an incredibly expensive business. It's probably one of the most expensive things that as a local authority we do. Although it's nice to see that we're getting some income, I didn't think the income was overly impressive, to be honest, given the costs associated with running such an important heritage asset. And that, of course, worries me a little bit because, you know, we need to sort of future-proof. We need to sort of build resilience financially into these marvellous heritage assets because there's always a risk that they will start to deplete and deteriorate if we don't. Part of my thinking around developing the Guildhall relates to the people that actually visit the Guildhall. When I first moved to Boston in 1992, I went to the Guildhall and it was very much a community museum. It had all sorts of odd bits and bobs in it that related to various families in Boston. I mean, I think there was bits of aircraft that had fallen off and landed in Penn Street or something, and it was all there for people to see. It was very hickledy-pickledy. It was a little bit like the Gentleman's Club down in Spalding, but it attracted a lot of local people. They closed it, and then when they reopened it again, it became a space to a far greater extent than it was a museum. And that seemed to be the sort of the zeitgeist. That was where museums were going. They were becoming spaces. The history of the building was more important in a sense than the actual contents of the building. And I just wonder, you know, whether or not we need to go back and perhaps look again at what we've got in there. You've got some retail sort of cases coming, so presumably some display cases. Maybe look at what would attract the people of Boston back into the Guildhall in ever increasing numbers to those that you've already got, and get them spending, because there's not a lot of spend going on. There might be increased footfall, but not a lot of spending's happening. So we've got a number of things we need to do. And I just wonder, my final point is this: do we know who actually does visit the Guildhall? Where they come from? Are they locals? Are they part of our newly arrived communities? Do we have any information to indicate exactly who our visitors are? Because if we have that information, we can maybe target our strategy for trying to encourage more people to come and visit the place.
Thank you. One of the points relates to the future sustainability in the income. Some of the future sustainability is looking at novel ways to increase the resilience of the building without the council investing in it. As you've related, there is an upturn in footfall, which hopefully we'll capitalise on. And over the years, we've not been able to invest in exhibition changes, events, and the display of items from the collection. And there's not been the impulse to revisit the site, and there's not necessarily been the stronger pull from revisiting to visit exhibitions. The investment that we've got that's enabling us to do that is about £100,000 through the Arts Council, which is giving us bespoke museum cases, which are of a quality that enables us to take loans from other accredited institutions, as well as display our own material. And this new regime of display and exhibition is what's backing up the ambition to increase the retail that we're getting, which we realise is low. Equally, the other external investments that we're going for, they are to take the cost away from the council, if you like, to give us the better, well-protected heritage that that site and the town deserves to underpin its heritage offer. And I've said a lot of words. You did too. What haven't I covered of yours? I'm sorry.
Do we know the profile of the communities that do
Yes.
visit, whether they're coming from outside Boston, they're Bostonian people, or whether they come from our newly arrived communities? Because we may be able to do things to attract people in who we've previously not been aware that maybe want to come in.
Yeah, it's certainly something that we could do better. We've not got good analysis of who visits us at the moment.
Anybody else from the committee got any questions to ask? Councillor Welbury.
Just wanted to share a story, really. I ran a ghost tour on behalf of the mayor. Oh, Sarah came along and Luke was there. We had 40 people, 35 paying. We all had a wonderful time, didn't we? Drinks have to be served downstairs. They can't be served upstairs at the Guildhall. So I was with the drink downstairs, and I made a point of asking the 35 to 40 people, every single one of them, if they'd been to the Guildhall before, or when they'd been to the Guildhall before. And all but 2 had not either visited it since they were children, or they'd never visited it at all. And your talk was most wonderful, Luke, on the gruesome exhibits of Boston. Everybody said, without exception, how much they enjoyed it. And your wealth of knowledge is incredible, you know, and it was so interesting on a very cold, miserable night, wasn't it? Where we saw parts of Boston we'd never seen. But it just shows you, those 35 people, 40 people were a cross-section. They were from youngsters, you know, late teenagers, to older people, you know, in their 70s. So you've got a big cross-section there of people, and only 2 had actually been to see an exhibition in the last year or so at the Guildhall, which to me is so sad, really sad. And there's your cross-section. You know, Councillor Gilbert, you know, that is a cross-section of people that are interested to the macabre, yes, but, you know, it's an interest in history, isn't it? And I also run the Swineshead Archives, which I set up about a year ago as now, and we are extremely popular. Every second Saturday we have a surgery, we open up our archive room, we invite people to come along. They're invited to bring artefacts. You know, they can bring things that relate to them on Swineshead, and we keep them for them, or we photocopy it or take a copy of some description and keep it. And the buzz that is on that Saturday is incredible, really is. People want to talk about their experiences of Swineshead. I mean, Councillor Evans knows. And they want to give us things. They want things to be kept for them. They are, a lot of them, older people, are really worried that the things that mean a lot to them are going to be lost forever. Once they pass, their children are not going to be interested because they've moved away from the town. They're not interested in Boston. But the people, the things, the artifacts that people bring, we're absolutely incredible. You know, posters of the old bakery we've got deeds of houses long gone. We've got stories that nobody ever knew. Maybe you should think about doing that like we do, a Boston archive. Invite people in every second Saturday. I mean, Luke, you're fantastic talking to people about the history. And I'm sure, you know, David is as well. Every second Saturday or every whenever, say, I'm having an open day, please, people of Boston, come talk about your experiences of Boston. Bring what you've got to show us. And I guarantee you it will create a big buzz, and it will be like a rolling stone. It will gather moss. More and more people will come because that's what we found in Swineshead. And now we have a big archive day twice a year. The next one is the 5th of April, where we're opening the crypt, Luke, again, you know, because it was so popular last time, you know, we had that many people come. Have a Boston Archive Day. Open it to all these things that people give you, or all the exhibits that you have, you know, down in the cellar or in the cupboards or wherever you have. Bring them out and show people, because I'm sure it'll be really, really well attended. I think that's what people want. They want something local that they can relate to, especially older people that know maybe time's running out and those days have gone. You know, so it's an idea. It doesn't cost too much, you know, to run something like that. And I think that would really, you know, make a buzz in the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Austin.
I should have made a declaration at the beginning, which I'm sorry, I totally forgot. Age, perhaps. about 6 years. Oh, wait a minute. I think it was before I was actually a councillor, but after my mother died, I deposited with the Borough Council a series of programmes, I think you might say, relating to the annual pilgrimage, as it was called, of civic dignitaries, I suppose, from Boston, Massachusetts, over to this Boston. And, you know, that was a personal donation that I made. It wouldn't financially be worth anything, but those were, those pilgrimages came to a halt at the outbreak of the Second World War, but they were all just, I think, stored in a big room. Have you got a big room at the back of a neighbouring property, Luke? That they're stored somewhere in the borough's possession. I can't say any more than that, but, you know, so that's a personal declaration that I should have made. So it may not be a financial, but it's a, what do you call it? Just a personal one. Thank
you. Any further thoughts, questions from the committee? Councillor Austin, I understand that you'd like to ask some questions.
I think we're all agreed that the visitor economy for Boston is very important going forward, and we want to make the most use of the next 5 years with 2030 in mind. Now, do you agree that the Guildhall ought to be the centre of the drive for the visitor economy? I think we've got more to do here. What ideas have you got to make it more the centre of the drive to increase the visitor economy?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Austin. A lot of the drive with the visitor economy is obviously through the place team, and our product, if you like, at the Guildhall and the exhibitions and the work we do is part of that core offer that the place team are shaping, promoting, particularly looking forward to 2030 and Boston 400. And that anniversary is something that we will be playing a core role in. At the moment, we're helping lever conversations with Rhode Island, for example, and the university over there, and other destinations to help us understand what fantastic things we can actually put at the centre of it. And we've got some really exciting exhibitions coming up that will underpin the visitor economy and actually reflect back to some of the other member points in regards of utilising local works, local stories, and championing them to give the visitors a true context of what Boston is. I hope that helps.
Yeah. My second question, Madam Chairman, is we have some outstanding stories being promoted on national television. The stories are around in the Tudor period, around Thomas Cromwell is one example. Now, I'd like to think that we can follow these up and make a big issue of this in Boston. There'll be more stories coming, I'm sure, about John Cotton as the 2030 comes on, and elsewhere I've seen these national stories being really blown up locally, but we haven't had the capacity, I suspect, to do this today, but I think going forward, will you make sure that we make the most of these sort of possibilities?
Yes, absolutely. And it's something that we're working more and more closely with the communications team in leading us, help shape who we are contacting, the opportunities we have got. The last TV we did was in about September last year with calendar for the Ron Diggins Degola exhibition, which caught the appetite of a lot of people, not just locals, but from all over, who reacted positively, contacting us through social media. So the effects of that type of promotion are tangible ones for us, and something we're really keen with the top headline stories we've got to be able to push out, see what the appetite is for them to be reported by those medias.
My third question, Madam Chairman, is that we need to bear in mind that the local population is largely engaged in agriculture, food packing. It's been very much involved in industries such as printing and which of course is no print, and the feather industry, fogages, that employed many people, but none of this appears in the Guildhall, and I think there would you see an opportunity to have some of these things featured, because I think that would interest the local population in general, and bring them into the Guildhall.
Yes, absolutely. A couple of the things that you mentioned are already included in planning of the exhibitions that we've got, not in isolation, as complementary items. For instance, the food packaging, and particularly the designs that were developed by Lincan, which are incredibly strong graphic designs promoting Boston products. They're planned to be used alongside an illustrative exhibition of Boston that we're doing. So they'll be involved in that. And some of the agricultural processes will be involved in an exhibition we're looking to do in about 18 months' time. These are exhibitions that have been enabled, and I think it's important to give this context, by the investment and support of the National Portfolio Organisation, Storytellers, which is giving us the ability to get the exhibition cases, get the material out of our collections. And some of that material alludes to exactly those areas that you've just described.
Thank you, Councillor Austin. Anybody else have anything to say on this matter? I think we've actually covered a lot of topics this evening regarding the Guildhall. I've been involved with the Guildhall before. It is a difficult building because, as you've said, it's a Grade 1 listed building. But I think comments made like leaflets, signage, events moving forward. You've got proposed exhibitions coming up. We can't just wait for 2030 though, and I know you're not. I know you're working on other events, and sadly 2020 didn't happen because of COVID, and that was when we were going to have a big event. Financial figures I think are quite disappointing, and I think there's still an awful lot of work to do down there. It is a fantastic building. You know, I love the building, but it is a difficult one, and it always has been. So I wish you well. Moving forward, is everyone happy to take the comments as noted? And we'll move on to the next item. Thank you. So item 2 is a Boston Markets Policy Report, please. The third report is going to be presented by the new Markets Manager, David Smith, and it starts on page 69 and it will be supported by our Assistant Director, Phil Perry.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I've started the role at the end of October last year, so it's nice to meet you all. So a summary of the policy report. Following the implementation of the Boston Markets Development Plan, the market service has undergone a full review. This review has highlighted the need to review current market and severe weather policies as a priority as the service evolves to ensure the markets operate efficiently, consistently and safely. This report details the draft, revised and new policies for the service. The purpose of the market and severe weather policies is to set out the matters the Council will take into account when considering and undertaking its duty to provide and manage its markets. I recommend that the committee review the draft Market Policy Appendix 2 and Severe Weather Policy Appendix 3 as provided in this report and its associated dependencies, and secondly, provide feedback to be recommended to Cabinet to be incorporated into the draft Boston market policies. Market policies are reviewed annually to update fees and charges and minor changes to wording, but following the review of the service, it was determined that a wider review of the policy was also needed. The review of the markets policy was undertaken with extensive research of our local authority markets policy and draws on best practice from them all. The policy also considers an increase of traders that don't necessarily have English as their first language, so it aims to make the policy terms clearer using uncomplicated basic wording as much as possible. Within the draft market policy, some of the principal changes to consider concern the following. There is a new requirement for new traders to provide risk assessments if using their own stores and equipment. New incentives added to the casual traders and traders that haven't traded at Boston for over 12 months. Charity stores to be allowed to stand for free once a quarter instead of once a year. There is a debt repayment warning added to the policy to remind traders of timely payments of invoices, and late invoice payments are to be strictly monitored with disciplinary procedures for those breaching the policy. Holiday entitlement has increased by 1 day and has been made clearer, with inclement weather day entitlement now doubled for traders. Changes have also been made to the disciplinary procedures and the conduct section. Information on selling second-hand goods has now been added to the policy. Information on the provision of electric and generators used on the market. Erect and dismantle times for the new gazebos now added. Trading hours reduced by 30 minutes, but instead a strict compliance to not pack away until 30 minutes prior to the core trading hours have ended. Feedback from the traders is that customer behaviour has changed over the years, with most of their customers attending the market earlier, leaving trade past 2 p.m. very quiet. Emergency procedures are now being added to the policy. Health and safety inspection form for market officer, dismantling instructions for council staff, and trader application form is now being removed from the main body of the policy to make it clearer. Severe weather policy has also been removed from the main body of the policy, and it's now its own document as advised by the health and safety manager. Within the draft severe weather policy, some of the principal changes to consider concern the following. The severe weather policy now demonstrates clearly how the markets team determine when and how a decision to restrict or close the market is taken, acknowledging it can cause a lot of disruption with the potential of financial and logistical impacts for all concerned. A decision-making matrix is shown within the policy for traders to view. A new, more formalised severe weather policy has been drafted in collaboration with the Health and Safety Manager to mitigate against the change in weather throughout the year. This draft policy is appended in Appendix 3. The policy now sets out clear conditions for traders using equipment during a restricted market, advised by the Health and Safety Manager. The policy now provides a stated time and day when decisions for the market will be made, ensuring traders receive sufficient notice in advance. It has been proposed that now only the Met Office Weather app will be used to ensure a fair and consistent approach to decision making. It maintains the key priority is to protect the council's reputation, the public, traders and staff safety in the event of any severe weather which would affect any open air market or event operated by Boston Borough Council. In conclusion, the draft market policies have been reviewed and updated in line with the evolving market service and best practice and are presented to the EMP Scrutiny Committee for your consideration with a view to seeking feedback prior to submission to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I just say, you mentioned feedback from the traders once there, but how many of the actual market traders were spoken to in the research for this report?
I don't have specific numbers, I'm afraid. It's just in general conversation when I visited the market myself, and I've also liaised with the market officer who's there daily and seeks feedback from him as well. But I have spoken with all the traders directly regarding their concerns, most of it being regarding the severe weather policy, because previously, to be honest, it wasn't implemented maybe when it should have been. So now we are strictly monitoring that for the reputation of the council and in adherence with our insurance policy.
Okay,
Thank you.
Councillor Scoot.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With regards to the weather policy and information from the Met Office, what sort of time period are you giving the traders on the market? Are you looking at, say, making a decision on the Sunday for the Wednesday and the Wednesday for the following Saturday?
Thank you, Councillor Scoot. The decision will be made at 2 p.m. the day before the market. I did liaise with the traders, especially the ones selling food, etc. And initially, on the first time it was restricted, I gave 2 days notice, thinking that was best practice. And after speaking with those traders, they actually said they'd prefer it closer to the day because, as you're aware, the weather can change overnight for the next day. So after speaking with the food vendors, who are the main traders concerned, they preferred the 2 p.m. cut-off because then that enabled them to buy stock or not just before the market, the day before the market. So 2 p.m. day before the market.
Thank you. If I may, Madam Chair, is there a contingency if the forecast is incorrect? So, say for example, you say, no, we're going to close the market, and then we don't get the weather we thought we were going to.
Thank you. So currently, because we use stalls, the setup is the day before. So when we make the decision at 2 p.m. the day before, that enables us to tell the erectors to either erect or not. So unfortunately, if the weather changes overnight, we can't then set up stalls the next morning. But that will change when the new gazebos come in, because we will be setting up in the morning between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. prior to the market opening. So that will eliminate that issue. Also within the new policy, whilst we're still using stalls, I've also put in there, those traders that are using their own equipment, stalls or gazebos, I have stated that if the weather does change overnight, it will be reassessed at 7 a.m. on the morning of the market for those traders. Now, I appreciate that is a disadvantage to those that use the council stalls, but ultimately, the traders that buy and use their own equipment shouldn't be penalised in any way. So I think it's fair that on that morning of the market, it's 7 a.m. and I've put that into the policy because that is actually what happened on one of the occasions. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Austin.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm a little bit concerned about the warnings put out by the Environment Agency. I listened to the flood. I received all the flood warnings. I listened to it, and they clearly stated there will be no flooding from the South 40 foot near Boston, and no internal flooding of properties, and they would not be issuing another warning. As a result, my residents got 40 of them got internal flooding on that night, in the middle of that night on the, was it 6th or 7th of January. And that has somewhat shattered my faith in the Environment Agency. So can we perhaps just really, really take care with any weather warnings, please?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Austin. Most certainly.
Councillor Welbury.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. David, as you know, we're working together anyway. I just think it might be worth just going through with the committee the difference between the old stalls and the new gazebos, because I know, because I've worked with them, but I don't think many members understand the difference between the two, and it would be helpful because it does relate to some of the decisions you've made within the policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, currently we use steel framed stalls, old style market stalls, and then a sheet goes on top. They are coming to the end of their life, and that's why the gazebos have been bought. We do have them in our possession now. When the gazebos come in, it'll be a two-person, 2 people will be required to erect them and to take them down. And we have a meeting tomorrow regarding the equipment provided to the traders. It's not been confirmed yet regarding the sides, weights, tables, etc. So we do have a meeting tomorrow about that. So hopefully I can give you an update soon regarding that. But yeah, the gazebos, if you didn't see them at Christmas, the blue and white ones, they received really good feedback from the public, how they looked, a fresh look for the market. So we have had some negative feedback from the current traders, but what I have done last weekend was we erected one for the traders to come and see. I spoke to the traders on Saturday, Kelly Coombs, and she is willing to trial them. She has 3 stalls width, and she's going to trial 3 gazebos to see how she can work around it, because some are worried how they're going to lay out their stall now, because it is a big change for them. But I've got a plan in place to implement that as a softly approach to see how they can get on.
Thank you. I think it would be more proactive as regards the weather warning, like you've explained. It's a lot easier, isn't it, to actually erect those gazebos? And I wondered what the like-for-like space was. So is it 3 for 1? Is that how it's working? You know, with the current stall size and the new gazebo size, it's not like-for-like, is it? It is going to be like-for-like.
Yes, the current stall is 10 foot, but the gazebos measure 3 by 3 meters, which is
so it's 3, 1
so
for 3. Yeah.
They will have the same footprint. Nothing is changing regarding their space, and they will be allowed to come out of their stall a certain meter, which is to the discretion of the market manager, depending on the safety and how much space we've got. So nothing regarding their space is changing. It's just their setup. How with the current stalls they can attach things to the stalls, whereas the new gazebos they won't be allowed to. So that's why I'm trialing the gazebos with the current traders to see how they can work around that and plan forward, rather than on the day, here you go, and then they might find some difficulties.
Thank you. And they do look a lot smarter, I think.
They do.
Much, much smarter. More 21st century, definitely. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Councillor Gilbert.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, you've got an uphill struggle, like Mr. Skerritt has, sort of trying to drive up the income going to the Guildhall. Markets are about demand and supply, and the supply is met by the traders. And so, looking at it from a supply side issue, and I'll talk about the demand side issue as well. Do we have the number of traders? My suspicion would be has fallen by about a third or maybe a half over the last 10 years or so. So are the traders out there that could be recruited to come to Boston Marketplace and provide the supply of goods and the range of goods, the range of supply that we would have seen 10 or 15 years ago? So that's the first question about the supply. In relation to the demand, things have changed significantly in Boston over the last 20 years or so. And I've argued quite often that, Boston's spend, the level of Boston's spend.
Gilbert, remember we've got item 4 coming up. Some of these questions probably relate more to item 4 than your Boston markets policy.
Well,
really.
the question is, yes, okay. Yeah, maybe it does. I'll be quiet. Thank you. So just one question then.
That probably is more relevant to the development of the market rather than the policy. Yeah,
Councillor Gilbert, it is. I've mentioned some of that in the next report. I can address it if not when we get to it.
I'll stop rambling on.
Councillor Izzard.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of small points, really. On page 91, your health and safety form, you mentioned about cables for slips and trips hazards, but you don't mention about head height ones. Often when I walk around the market, there are cables going across that head height. So that should be included in your health and safety form as well.
Thank you. I wasn't aware of that. Could you tell me where, approximately?
They're mostly from the catering side, often they run from. But yeah, if you wander around, you'll often see.
Thank you very much for bringing that to my attention, and that will be addressed. Thank you.
The other thing was on page 110. So we've got the public liability insurance, obviously, for the market stall holders. How about charities? Can they set up without any public insurance?
No, they can't. They are required to still provide public liability insurance.
Okay. So that,
which to everyone that makes an inquiry regarding charity, since I've started the role, every charity has had one, the insurance in place, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, it's okay. I was thinking about promoting a few more new ones, but I don't know whether they're going to have the insurance to be covered with it. And what was the last one? Oh, I think on page 146, but it's almost touching on to, as you say, the next one about there's a big demand to see the auction back. And I just wondered whether that was a possibility as well. Thank you.
The next one, really.
It is the next one, but I haven't referred to the auction. Can I quickly refer to that?
Would you want to bring it up in the next one?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any further thoughts, questions? Councillor Austin.
Yeah, just a very quick one. We've got a small section about car boot sales, and those of us who, well, I don't know if we still do, but we try and hold car boot sales now and then for our church, for Liberton Church, but everywhere else seems to be able to have as many as they like, but we've got this restriction to 4 car boot sales. Any comment?
Thank you. The markets team doesn't actually deal with the car boot policy. The council has its own car boot policy, which is under licensing. So in our current actual policy, we have a page referring to car boots, but after speaking with licensing, it is nothing to do with the markets team. So we have removed that and stated that the policy is online for people to view and speak with licensing regarding that matter. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've reviewed the market policy and the severe weather policy. Do I have a proposer and a seconder, please? David, Councillor Scoot, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Evans. Thank you very much. We'll now move to the vote. All those in favour? Anybody against? Oh, I think it was carried. Thank you very much. Yeah. Your comments have been recorded by the officers. Moving on to item 3. It's the Boston Market Development Plan report, which starts on page 151 of the agenda pack. Again, this will be presented by the Markets Manager, David Smith, supported by our Assistant Director, Phil Perry. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This report provides an update on the 4 key objectives within the Boston Markets Development Plan that was previously considered on the 13th of February 24 at EMP Scrutiny Committee. Boston Market Development Action Plan is a live document which was agreed with the Council's Cabinet on the 27th of March 24. Now that it has been in place for a year, it's important to review and report on progress against the commitments that were made. This report also provides an overview on how Boston's regular Wednesday and Saturday markets have been performing and proposes and actions for the further development of the service. The Market Development Plan 4 key objectives are to deliver a sustainable market service and become financially resilient, to deliver modern markets, improving both infrastructure and delivery, the Boston Market Service becoming known for its specialist markets and events, the market service is successfully promoted and well marketed. The Partnership Annual Delivery Plan includes 2 projects for the Boston Market Service to undertake during the 24-25 financial year. These were to review the markets policy and to undertake a review of the market service with an aim to deliver savings whilst also growing the market service. An update on the market service since the EMP committee on the 13th of February 24. There is now a dedicated markets manager shared across the partnership who has been in place since 20th of October 24, which is myself. Revised policy in place April 24 with further policy review awaiting determination for 25, as we've just spoken about. A successful capital invest to save funding bid of £47,750 for a replacement van, gazebos and equipment to support the delivery of the evolving market service. Reduction in the stall erector team and hours of operation in Q3 and savings built into the 25 and 26 budget. A Saturday market road closure was introduced following a consultation in Q2. Final consultations are currently ongoing to apply for a road closure on Wednesday market days in Q4. Markets integrated into events such as the Christmas Festival and Boston College Food Festival. The teenage market events have continued to develop, but have now been focused into 8 months of the year instead of 12, taking best practice from East Lindsey District Council, who run a very successful teenage market programme. Also recently confirmed with the portfolio holder, are now aimed to have charity stalls also with the teenage market as an actual pairing to bring more visitors for that day. We also have a new makers and farmers market which has been created, held monthly between March and October. Today I received the artwork for that. It's due to the farmers market over the last year or so not being very successful. I've now paired that with the with a makers market with the help of Councillor Welbury. So we look forward to that first event at the end of March. Development of the social media presence, particularly on Facebook, and this is due to be expanded to other platforms such as Instagram and Google. Our Markets Facebook page has been revamped with new content, and an extensive number of local groups have now joined to enable us to reach thousands of people to promote the market. I received data today from our Google business account, which I updated, adding new photos and links to our Facebook, etc. And year on year from January 24 to 25, we've had 1,410 views with an increase of 64.1%. I've had new professional photos of the market now taken, which has now been posted on Boston Market Facebook page, which has received fantastic feedback from followers and traders. New branded gazebos bought in readiness for a move from the aging stalls to gazebos for the 25-26 financial year. New gazebo guttering has now been ordered to enable traders to join the gazebos without their stock being damaged. Although Boston's pitch fees are similar to some of the markets in the area, they are high when local demographics are factored in. The proposal within the budget setting programme for 24-25 was for the council to freeze the fees to keep the rates competitive. A small increase of 50p has been introduced for the market traders vehicles, and that's the only raise regarding fees. Market occupancy rates have increased by 1% year on year for Q1 and 2, with an 8% decrease for Q3 due to several markets being restricted due to the Met Office yellow warnings resulting in no stores being provided and a decrease of traders for that day, which affects approximately 75% of our traders not being able to trade when it is restricted. The markets team are in early stages of working towards a PDQ, process data quickly machine, to enable traders to pay on their pitches on the day of the market. This will prevent any traders developing debt moving forward. Positive action is being taken regarding the traders' current debt, and new debt collectors instructed for traders no longer engaging with credit control. I have now ordered new barrier covers to use for the road closures advertised in the market and how to become a trader, new banners to advertise the market opening times around Boston town, new banners for the makers and farmers market, artwork for posters to advertise the markets, and posters have also gone into notice boards around the town centre. Today I received delivery of bunting, blue and white bunting. So we'll look to introduce that over the next few weeks. And we've also changed the market's logo to represent the colours of the Boston Council. I've also introduced traders meetings. We are due to confirm a date tomorrow, but we are hopeful to have the traders come into the Guildhall for a meeting, and I aim to hold those meetings every 6 months to seek their feedback and constant consultation. I also plan to start interactive videos, so for those traders that want to interact, to a day in the life of a market trader, to put that online. I also want to, I've also ordered a selfie square, which is online where it advertises Boston Market, our opening times, and we're going to do a featured trader of the week. So they'll have their photo in the middle of this square, and then people can see that we're on Facebook, and they'll get a feature, that trader for that week, explaining what they sell and more photos, etc. Looking forward, I also want to interact with the Stump a lot more. I've developed a good relationship with Father David there. They get over 90,000 visitors a year, and we don't utilise that enough, in my opinion. And that's something where maybe if people attending the Stump can get a 5% discount on the market, well, traders who would like to take part in that incentive, it's something that I want to look into. And further into the year, I also hope to look into international markets to celebrate Boston's diverse community. So in conclusion, Boston Market Action Plan has been developed as a live document to be continually developed to support accountability within the service to deliver strategically and operationally what is required from the important borough asset. There are currently 13 actions within the Boston Market Action Plan, and to date, 2 have been completed, 9 are on target, and 2 amber that require further work to ensure they can continue to aim to meet the timeline set. In conclusion, the Boston Market Development Action Plan annual review report on year 1 activity is presented to the E&P Scrutiny Committee for its consideration with a view to seeking feedback prior to submission to Cabinet. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, David. Very in-depth report, very interesting. Could you tell me, please, on average, how many stallholders we now have in the marketplace?
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, depending on the months, during the winter, you're looking towards 10 to 15. In the summer, you're looking 20 to 30. It really does depend on the months. January to March are very quiet.
And I noted from the figures that you're looking to charge, we are £7 more than East Lindsey. Would it not be better to consider, right, let's get this town centre full of traders rather than 10, 15, 20? If you reduce the price, would you not get more uptake?
Absolutely, I totally agree, and it's the first thing I said when I came into the job, when I compared the prices. And you look at South Holland, £9 a pitch. So it was put to accounts department. We did go through that process to bring those prices down, and we were refused, unfortunately.
They are free. You are freezing them.
Yeah. The best we could do was freeze, but I have spoken to Caroline Thacker-Smith regarding how we move forward, because I still want to change this, and I don't want to accept just a freeze. And she has stated that I need to put a business plan together to combat that, and that is what I plan on doing.
I can understand, David, why Stamford is high. I mean, there's more money in Stamford, and wherever you go in Stamford, you do pay more on the markets. But to me, we're working in collaboration with South Holland, with East Lindsey, and to be charging £7 more than East Lindsey, that's probably why your markets are struggling, and they really need to reconsider this.
I 100% agree, and I wish my proposal was agreed, but unfortunately it wasn't. But I do promise that is my main concern. After I do liaise with the traders regularly, and that is the main concern. And actually, we have a meeting tomorrow with portfolio holder Dale Broughton, hopefully, if he's well enough. And I want to explore if we are charging what we are just for the time being. Can we have any other incentives for our regular traders to assist to get around this issue for now until we get any reductions in place?
Thank you. It may be too late though. Councillor Gilbert.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to come back and continue where I left off.
My pleasure.
That's all right. Yeah, so what I was basically talking about was the issue of supply. I mean, basically, a market is a very, very simple form of economy, isn't it? It's the earliest form of economy, basically demand and supply. And I think everything that you've described very much enhances the supply side, if you like, and ticks all the relevant boxes, including stuff that I wouldn't have even considered, like using IT and all that sort of thing. I think it's a very, very good idea, and I hope it works. Couple of observations. One, I do think over the years, Boston's spending power has gone down. The nature of the population in Boston has changed, and as a result, the spending power has gone down. And Boston Market always used to serve, first and foremost, the local Boston population. And I think that's why it was a thriving market. And because it served a thriving population, a fairly wealthy population for the town size, we were able to bring people in from outside Boston, and they'd come in coaches and had to spend the day here. I don't think that happens anymore. So the issue for me is looking at the demand side as well. Let's get a sense of what that's all about, because what you're doing is great, but with the demand's not going to be there, then your efforts are going to be in vain. So a couple of things. Do you think there's any merit, and maybe it's something we'll pick up tomorrow, in having some sort of retail analysis or retail study undertaken, which incorporates not only the market but the local retail businesses as well, because it'd be good to get a sense of how much money there is in Boston these days and how it's being spent, and I think that would be quite useful if we could do that. I'm not sure it's in your brief to do it, but maybe your colleague can comment. And then the other thing is, do we publicise the fact that toilets in the stump are available for public use for anybody who's actually visiting the market?
Sorry.
Yeah, we do try to let people know where the toilets available are. Dave is working with our comms team as well to keep trying to raise the profile of Boston. He's also working across the other two authorities to raise the profile of Boston and for Boston to promote, those markets as well. So there's a lot of things that are going on. We work closely with the communications team as well. They've been really supportive, I think, as well, in terms of especially on things like social media, which more and more of our younger population of Boston really do use. So to try and promote what the market actually has.
Retail study. Do you think there's any merit in looking at actually who comes to Boston Market? Getting a sense of how much spend they have these days, how affluent Boston is now compared to how it was in the past.
Well, we could talk to our economic growth colleagues to see if they can support on that. We do have the licenses. We know what everybody does sell, and of course, items sold are to meet the demand. Market traders have to meet the demand to make sure they can make a living. So really, it's us to try and diversify and find other sort of increase the mix in the market, to try and find other people who will come and try and hopefully make a good business in Boston.
I do think we should look at how much is being spent in Boston as well.
Thank you, Councillor Gilbert. Councillor Austin.
Thank you again, Chairman. We are, of course, in Boston, a low-wage economy, but of course, that perhaps favours people who shop in a market rather than going to a supermarket, which always will be more, well, I think imagine will always be more expensive if you wish to buy their veg rather than ours. But Wednesdays, of course, traditionally is the day when coaches come over from the coast, whoever, the holiday people from, well, wherever they stay, I suppose, Skegness, maybe up as far as Mablethorpe. And of course, the point about a Wednesday is, well, it is one of our market days, isn't it? So there we've got, I think you might say, a captive market almost, captive shoppers. They come obviously to look at the sights of Boston, but rather than St Botolph's, I think unfortunately they will be more keen on spending their money, and the market's got to make the most of that, hasn't it? And probably keep our prices, our charging prices sufficiently low that we don't lose these markets, because our markets traders themselves come from a very wide area, don't they? They're not particularly local traders. Have you ever done an analysis of where they all come from, please? Sorry, that's the stall holders themselves.
I haven't done a report as such, but I do know where most of them live and where they travel from, because they do go across to East Lindsey, Spalding, etc. I also deal with their yearly renewals, so I do know their addresses, and they are in and around the Boston area, majority of them. And regarding the coach trips, I'm not aware if they are still going anymore, to be honest. I don't believe they are. So, and which is why I acknowledge that has finished, and that's why I want to build a good relationship with the Stump, because although regarding Skegness and those Alford, Borough Marsh, those sort of places, on Facebook, I've joined all their groups, their local community groups. So I'm advertising now to those areas, not just Boston, but I think that's a different group of visitors. And that's why I want to engage with the Stump more, so to reach the older community, to bring them back to the markets.
We've got so much to offer, haven't we? Not only in our veg that are grown locally, we're centre of the UK food valley, so we've got all that to capitalise on. And look what else we can offer, just starting with St Botolph's and the Guildhall, and the going on like that. So we've got to promote this as much as we can, haven't we? And I'm sure you will. Thank you.
Councillor Marson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was surprised when you said about South Holland being cheaper than our market to rent a store. I think maybe if we was on par with them, we'd get more traders from that go on to the Spalding or wherever markets to come here. It's a no-brainer. They're not going to come if they're going to pay more rent. They're not going to do that. And are you going further afield? Like, for example, what would be expensive, the rent in Boston to, say, South Holland would be very cheap if you went further south. You know, like in traders magazines and that sort of thing. Are we advertising with traders online or in magazines about Boston market? Because the rent, what we charge on Boston market would be very cheap to somebody who stands, say, for example, in Essex. And they do travel that far, because I was brought up on the markets. We travelled miles around the country doing markets. So maybe we need to look further out for new traders, if that makes sense. But I do think that we need, I do think that we need to drop the price if that's the case, because it's like, it all depends on what you sell. Some people that I know that stand on the market, they'd have to sell a lot of things to pay that rent, whereas somebody else that stands on the market probably have to sell a couple of things. I do think that if we need to be matching them. We do. So I do agree with you on that. Yeah.
Thank you. Regarding the seeking new traders from elsewhere, last night, in fact, I actually joined, I think, over 20 Facebook groups regarding traders in the UK. and so their name, you have to mess around with the names of these groups. So stall holders of the UK, market traders of the UK, and I went through all them last night actually and joined all them. So as and when I've actually pinned, sorry, I know I'm referring to Facebook a lot, but it is the power nowadays. Paper advertisement, leaflets, it's okay, but the reality is it's all online. So predominantly that's where we've started to get a good foundation for the markets, online presence, to then expand into the other areas. So just to go back to the point, I've pinned a feature to our main Facebook page of how to become a trader on Boston Market. I've set out the prices, a link to how to apply to our web pages, etc. So then every once in a while, for example, once a month, I will then post that to the groups of these traders. So that'll be an active sort of search that I'll be doing constantly to get more and more traders. Knowledge regarding South Holland, it is cheap. It's £9 and £10.50 at Long Sutton, but Holbeach, Crowlands, Long Sutton, they are small markets. So Holbeach is, you get 7 stalls. Crowlands at the minute is 2 stalls. Long Sutton, maybe 12 or 14. Spalding is the closest, and that is Boston's probably main competition. So it is smaller, and I would say the demographic is slightly different, and there is nothing stopping the Boston traders from going to Spalding just down the road for a cheaper price, but in actual fact they aren't at the moment. But they aren't. When I speak to them, because they have a customer base here at Boston, that's the value. So if they move, they then know it's 3 to 6 months of building that customer base. So my aim is definitely to get that price down. I promise you that. It is the major stumbling block. But once that does come down, I'm sure Boston will thrive from that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Izzard.
Thank you, Chair. Just 3 points. Firstly, on that table of charges on 156, does that include car parking charges for the other areas? Do they charge for car parking at all?
Do you refer to South Holland?
Yeah, so you've laid out what they charge for the stall, but we obviously charge car parking permits as well. Do they charge anything for their?
So South Holland do not charge for vehicles. East Lindsey don't allow vehicles on Louth Market and Spilsby Market. So traders have to park in the nearby car park. So Boston is in a really good place because not many markets actually allow vehicles on the marketplace. Normally you have to set up between 6 and 8. You drive on, drop your goods off, drive to another car park and hope no one steals your goods. And that is a major concern with our traders at the moment. They don't want to lose their vans off their vehicles off the marketplace. So that is a massive draw. Even though we charge £2, the traders would prefer to be charged that rather than to lose that luxury as such.
Yeah, you were saying about how you asked for a reduction in fees. For me, £2 is so petty that should be stopped straight away, and that could reduce their cost a little bit anymore. Also, what is the maximum number of stalls that the marketplace could hold?
I do have that information. If you just bear with me, sorry.
It's okay.
So it is. So for the regular market, as it stands, it's 54 pitches, but we also have areas on top of that for niche markets, farmers markets, and also an auction space. So it's 54 as a minimum, but we have a lot of space to expand on that. The reason I can bring this up, I'm liaising now within the council, I've got his name to hand, regarding the plan of the market for when Steve Johnson. So we are going to reassess the market regarding the plan of it in anticipation for a new booking and payment system probably for next year. So it's a long way off, but that's why this sort of map is there.
Okay, it's just my own information, because as you say, when we've only got 15 to 16, it doesn't look very good in such a big space.
Yeah.
And of course, going back to my last question, the most sought after one from local residents is, are we likely to have the auctioneer back so we can buy a bike for £10?
So on that, ongoing inquiries are being made. We just have one issue. We have had 3 or 4 auctioneers over the time. One of those is being sought for outstanding fees. So I'm in conversations with credit control to just confirm who that is, because there's a bit of confusion over that. This morning, actually, I emailed, I believe, the Alford auctioneer to attempt to bring them over. So I'm on that, and that is a massive draw to the market. I'm fully aware of that, and I really hope we can find someone. Regarding it, because of the price of the pitches 3x3, that would be extremely expensive for the auctioneer. So working with Assistant Director Phil Perry, we aim to have a separate price for auctioneer to make it a bit easier for them.
Thank you. Councillor Pryke.
Thank you. That's welcome news on the auctioneer, because one of the demands that I get every now and then is, when are we going to have the slightly tired and dying plants from garden centres auctioned off cheaply on a Wednesday? Because that's a much missed element at the moment. Other things that are missed come and go. Farmers markets are up and down all over the place. We're not the only place that has one and then loses it and then tries to regain it. It happens has happened in Curtin, for example, and I know it happens elsewhere. When Andy started to ask his question about sort of unmet demand, I was wondering if people come to you and say, what's happened to the stall that used to sell olives because it was so much better than the olives you can get in the shops in Boston. That's been said to me several times. I don't know where they've gone. I don't know if they were local or not, but they're not around now. And there must be other things that are not around now. The haberdashery that used to happen doesn't seem to any longer, but I can't imagine the demand has disappeared completely. So there must be a short list, a medium list, or a long list of things that people locally miss and would welcome back. And I don't know whether you can, you can't go out and say, I need a trader for olives next Wednesday or whatever, but there will be unmet demand that I would hope the council could not promote, but publicise with a view to getting particular traders to come. As Patsy said, people do travel, traders travel considerable distances for markets. And I've known people come from Leicester and beyond to Boston in the past. And that's quite a trek for us, but they do it because they can make money here, or they have been able to make money here in the past. And yes, buying a bicycle for £10 is great, but the market is so much more than that. On coaches, I would counter an assertion that says they don't come anymore, because they do. I know people who run the coaches from the coast in the summer months. It's a relatively sophisticated operation. They tell their passengers where the free toilets are and where the expensive toilets are. And in consequence, people who come on coaches from Skeg and Mablethorpe will walk to the station for a free toilet rather than, I don't know how much we charge at the Lincoln Lane at the moment, but we've been charging for a long time and they don't like it. Equally, the coach passengers don't, or coach companies don't like the way they seem to have been messed around on the parking at the bus station, and they dread having to move to Stanellan car park, which they think of as outer Siberia. I don't know where the bus station is going to end up at the moment, but I hope it's a lot nearer than Siberia. The coach passengers are very often met by enthusiastic locals who give them information about what to do and what to see in town. One gentleman directs people to the Stump, which is quite a good destination to go to begin with. But if you go to the Stump, you pretty well got to see the market as you're going. And so it's very likely they'll all go to the market in any case. Yes, we don't have a department store any longer. And yes, we have empty shops in the town centre, like every other town. And people know that, but they still come. They're still willing to pay to come. And I know that there are coach companies from further over in the East Midlands who run trips to Boston on a Wednesday, because Boston on a Wednesday is still a destination that people will pay to go. And I know this is preaching to the converted. We all want to support our local economy, but we're not dead yet. And I hope we can thrive in the future. But thank you for your report.
Thank you very much. Just regarding the coaches, thank you. Do you know those private trips are organised by? So I can
let you know.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be brilliant. And I will contact them, and I'd like to also offer them the incentive of maybe a discounted card, for example, just like the Stump visitors, for those traders who want to take part in that offer. And we could do that with the coaches, people on coaches, which is a great idea. Thank you for that. Just regarding the auctioneer, just to mention the difficulties regarding the auctioneer, because of Facebook Marketplace, Vinted, eBay, lots of people now will not give their items to an auctioneer. So it is very difficult. It's not just as simple as, do you want to come back? I'll give you a nice deal. So we'll try my hardest, but I just wanted to sort of point that out really. Regarding the farmers markets coming and going, as you're aware, farmers market has performed very poorly over the last few years. Regarding the new farmers and makers market, which will be advertised very soon, we have got an offer for them, which a pitch of £22. It's a buy one get one free offer. So in essence, they're getting £11 for their market. So hopefully with that offer and the new online content that I'm creating, the nice pictures, etc., that will push that type of market. So proof will be in the pudding, end of March. Hopefully I'll see you all there to support the farmers and makers market. And regarding the haberdashery, we have Jeannie, who is on the market as a regular. She is there if you ever need your items. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Yes.
I'm a bit conscious of the time, so if we can just move on a bit quicker, because it's 8:15. We've still got some more items. Councillor Welbury, thank you.
Yes, I'll be quick. One of the best developments in the regeneration of the market was the closing of the road on a Saturday, without a doubt. It created a more vibrant atmosphere within the market and everybody felt safe. I know the Stump are dead set against it. But what are the plans to actually close the road on a Wednesday, which would open up so many more opportunities? As you know, my involvement on Saturday markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I met with Father David and had a really positive conversation with him regarding his concerns about the road closure. He has some really valid points that we do need to address. I'm due to create a meeting with the leader of the council and portfolio holder, Broughton, Councillor Broughton, to meet with Father David. So that will be happening. I'm just waiting on confirmation of a date. So that will be in place. I also had a meeting with Laura Hunt from Lincolnshire County Council regarding the closure on a Wednesday, which she does have some concerns, which I will bring up to in the meeting as to why we are putting the road closure in place on a Wednesday. There are differences between the Wednesday and Saturday. I do need to have that discussion in the meeting, which will probably be within the next 2 to 3 weeks. But as from the council point of view, they want to go ahead of it. And to be totally honest, Father David was for it if we can have everything in place to assist his visitors and staff. So he's not totally against it with the meeting that I had with him, which was good to hear, really. So hopefully I can update you soon regarding that.
Suppose, David, as well, his concerns must be that on a Wednesday he may even have funerals.
Yeah.
So you can't close the road, can you? It's going to cause
So,
chaos for...
that is one of his concerns, but we will assist, as we do with weddings on the Saturday, for the main cars to be allowed through the marketplace under supervision of the market officer. So that is his concern regarding visitors for the funeral, where they'll turn up to the marketplace and see road closed and start to panic. So it's for us and the stump to have good communications with visitors and good signage around the town, not just to say road closed, but road closure, nearest car parks are, and provide that information to work around that issue, which Father David welcomed.
And I would say on the back of that, on any event that's happening, because I know there's been issues as well, County Club access there, because they didn't realise that things were going on. So it's not just Stump, is it? It's other places. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question's pretty much been asked by the others, so I will withdraw.
Well done. So going back now to, well, it's item 4 now, Q2 performance. Oh, apologies. Just go back to the last item. Do I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Councillor Gilbert, Councillor Izzard, seconding, and comments have been recorded. Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm going to have to take a vote on that. All in favour? All, everybody? Thank you very much. Sorry. Q2 performance. Let's go back to the beginning. This starts on page 9 of the agenda, and it will be presented by the Group Manager, Insights and Transformation, Suzanne Rolfe. Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies. Yes, we're going back to because it links through to the work programme, but I'll just give you some headlines and then take any questions. So these are the key performance indicators for Q2 as at the end of September 2024. So an update to the one that you received at the last meeting. Performance is still good overall, with the majority being green, that is on or better than target. There are 2 ambers, which are just off target and expected to be back on target by next quarter. One of those is the occupancy rate at the industrial units, which is 92.86% against a target of 95%, so very close. 2 vacant units were let during the quarter, and there is interest in 1 further unit. And I think there was a question at the last meeting about where our industrial units are. So there are 2 industrial units, one at Redstone, which is off the A16 behind the Sack store, and the other one is at Riverside, which is off Marsh Lane. The second amber that we have is the occupancy rate for other investment property. That's at 92.55% against, sorry, yes. Okay, I find it. Yes.
Page 20.
Did you say 20? Oh, thank you. Yes, page 20. Yes, top of page 20. Thank you. Yeah, so that's other investment property just below target. At the end of the quarter, so this is as at September, Garfitts Lane playing field and changing rooms had become vacant and negotiations had commenced. So that was in September. There are 3 reds then. Let me find the right place for those. The first one is on waste.
Suzanne, can we have this a little bit diluted next time round? Not on we normally just have it on A5, don't we?
Yeah.
Not yeah, thank you. They're all a bit
Yeah.
thanks.
I feel like I'm playing bingo.
Read on page 20.
Thank you.
23 is one on 23.
Rather than refer you to the pages, shall I just go through 3? Excellent. Oh no.
Councillor Pratt, you've still got your microphone on.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'll just give you a quick overview rather than look at the pages and confuse. On household waste, we are below target and work is continuing nationally, regionally and locally, as you're all aware, to address that. And the other 2 reds are around customer contact and revenues and benefits. So the percentage of calls that are answered on target. Both of those are because of the volume and complexity of calls. And I know we've raised this before. Our callback and web chats services are actively promoted and going very well. And there is more training and development of internal processes going on. And then with the revenues and benefits, that's the same issues as in customer contact. But in addition, the impact of the recovery work that they're doing there and the removal of winter fuel payments for some customers. So this is just to give you a few headlines around the areas that may be of interest to you for your work programme. And if you have any specific questions, I'll happily take those and we'll have a look at the formatting for next time.
Thank you, Suzanne. Councillor Izzard.
Me to start. Okay. First one on page 16, then I'd just like to praise the team for the fact that we haven't got any children in B&B for any length of time. I think that's really good as a council going forward. On page 20, why is the data difficult to obtain?
That for commercial rent? Yes. So it's the reporting out of our financial system. So operationally, we have that information and the team are managing the commercial rent income, but we're not able to provide the reporting at the moment. So as a KPI, I can't give you that data, but I can give you assurance that they're managing it.
Okay. Page 27. We seem to have had a dip in our swimming lessons and our swims. Is there any particular reason for that?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll double check. I should have asked Mr. Perry to hang on a minute. But yes, I'll find out for you.
Obviously, we're the Jeff Moulders now under new operational. So I just wondered whether there was a connection at all. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Councillor Pike.
Thank you, Chair. I've got 2 queries on page 20. There's an item here which is a new measurement, LA error rate measured against estimated annual expenditure from PS. What is this?
So that's the local authority error rate. So it's the error in I don't know how best to explain it. Let me get some information back to you so that I can give you a proper definition.
But is it?
It's
us not reporting things properly?
Not
not
usually us
measuring
not
things
being
properly?
reported to us properly. So it's
Not being reported to us
correct,
properly?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
More detail would be welcome,
I will find it.
please. And the other one is on page 41 at the top. This is council tax banded dwellings have risen from 31,000 to 31,007 to 31,008. And I'm wondering if these are the total number of council tax banded dwellings or the adjusted rate which the parishes receive when setting their local precept, their demands, because we get an adjustment, parishes get an adjustment to take account of the number of people who claim council tax discount for single occupancy, and also for the number of claimants of housing benefit. So the figures that the parishes have for supposedly the number of houses in Wibberton or Swineshead is not the true number of places in those villages. It's an adjusted figure by our tax and benefit service. So are these figures real, total ones, or are they the adjusted ones?
I don't think they're adjusted. I will double check. It does say that it's properties that are liable for council tax, and I'm not sure then if that does mean that they would have removed some of those. So I will double check for you and I'll find out the definition.
And in addition, of course, there's the empty ones that don't have to pay for a while.
Yes, if they're still liable, they would be in the figures, but I will double check.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Gilbert.
Does the callback system reduce the length of time or extend the length of time that people are often on hold?
My understanding is that they're not on hold once they leave their details and then they're called back. I don't know how quickly they get called back then. I think it's in the same time frame as if they'd have held on, but they can go away and do other things and then they just get the call. But I can get a bit more detail on that for you to see how the process actually works. But I think the idea is to make it as easy as possible for people to not lose their place, but still get the call back.
No, I think it's a really great development, but I just wonder whether or not it has a knock-on effect elsewhere in the system.
I don't believe so, but I'll get some more detail.
7 hours for me today, so it's working well, Councillor Gilbert. It's only because I rang again then as well. Recommendation is contained within the report on page 9. The committee is just asked to note and comment on this report. Is everyone happy to take this as noted? Comments again have been recorded by the officers. Thank you. And finally, Councillor Austin. Item 5, we're back to normal. Work programme and forward plan. The final agenda item is work programme and forward plan, which starts on page 173, if you can find it amongst your heap. Christian, would you like to present?
Well, nothing to present, I don't think, Madam Chairman. The work programme and the forward plan's there for everybody to see. I won't delay you any longer.
Anybody got any comments?
I'd mention that when the EnviroCrime report comes to the scrutiny committee, people should pay attention to it because Boston comes out pretty well compared to the other councils. And I think our colleagues in East Lindsey and South Holland were a little bit surprised at how well Boston deals with fly tipping and littering and so on. So please read the report when it's available.
And there was a suggestion to me as chairman to do a scrutiny on the flooding, but at the moment I've been advised not to bring this forward because I understand that LCC are doing a review on this and it will be due before that report's out. Interesting information today though did come through our Black Sluice Drainage Board meeting, and I'm afraid there's going to be an awful lot of questions asked. So anybody else got any suggestions that they would like to add to the work programme? Thank you very much. That concludes. So we'll take that report as noted. Concludes the evening's business. So I will close the meeting. Thank you all for your attendance, and the next meeting will be on Tuesday, the 29th of April. So thank you very much.